I was hired because they said you only talk when you know the truth. But all these people were there and they felt they had to talk. And I still think that's quite relevant today.
Welcome to another episode of Pints of View. Here with your host, Gary Goldsmith, in the Cavendish pub in Marylebone. It's raining outside, but it is sunny inside because I've got my mate, Kenny Lawrence, with me today. So, Kenny, cheers.
Cheers.
Salute.
Looking
brother.
forward to this.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to take you down. I've gone from non-alcoholic beer to a pint of wine, so anything could happen. James, are you on good form today?
I'm on very good form, thank you. I always come with my A game, but especially I've got A+ today.
Oh, wow. Oh, here we go. Right. So, Kenny, I will give you a proper introduction, but with all of my beautiful guests,
Yes.
I would like to start with a poem. Because it's nice to know that at least you know I've made the effort.
Okay.
Now, I will say I've been absolutely spectacular today.
It doesn't bode well, does it? You can't say spectacular.
Okay.
Do you know what though? I've got your back, so I've got some like meditative music, so you can just calmly deliver this in your own time. Nice, yeah.
Okay,
what
right.
is it with the fucking seagull noise?
It's perfect pitch too. Right, so are you ready for your poem?
Yes.
It took a lot of work, this.
GPT's been busy.
Yeah. In the world of VC, where fortunes sway, a cheeky chappie named Kenny chose his different way. No silver spoons or posh pedigree, just grit and determination to set him free. With courage bold and vision clear, he dared to make his fortune. Oh, hang on, dude. Fucking hell. I'm going again.
Okay.
No. Set me free. From banking towers to Nigeria's embrace, he dared to make his fortune in a riskier place. With courage bold and vision clear, he charted paths that many might have feared. Funding deals and turnarounds galore, his passion for growth forever would soar. A serial investor, now he stands tall, a testament to brave who answers his call. Kenny Lawrence, boy done good in the world of VC. He proudly stood. With every venture, he leaves his mark. My mate Kenny, the light of the dark.
Oh, very good. Very good, Gary.
Yeah.
Very good. I like that.
What you giving me?
A couple of stumbles. 6.7. 6.7 out of 10.
Tough, isn't it? It's a tough creative today.
Right.
So Kenny, it's interesting. So I didn't come to you for the background story. I spoke to our mutual mate Bill. Yeah. Because you went to school with his missus. So you've been around Bill for ages, and he said of you, it's kind of an incredible story that in that world of VC and private equity and banking, where everyone's double-barreled or called Rupert, boy turned up, and I think they loved you, or his words were, I think they loved him because he didn't think like everybody else thought. So you created deals and carved niche for yourself and made an absolute fortune for yourself and was absolutely brilliant at it. So I was hoping today to actually just leverage some of that. You know, how did you break into a world where it really wasn't open if you weren't part of that old boys' school?
Yeah.
Or you weren't part of that academia route that took you in there. O-levels and A-levels generally isn't enough to get you into that world of, elite banking.
Yeah.
What on earth took you to Nigeria and be hanging around with people with AK-47s? I mean, what the fuck?
I know.
So we should talk about that. Some of the investment stories, how you managed to get a proper tickle out of a Red Bull. You what? And literally, it's every time someone's having a vodka Red Bull, you're sitting there going, shutting. and the great things you're doing. How you've become a serial investor thereafter. And anything else that you think that we should talk about before we start playing games and having a laugh?
Okay. Well,
I haven't asked you a question yet. You're right. But I love the fact that you are so giddy to go. That's brilliant. So, First things first, thank you very much for making the effort to be here today.
It's a pleasure.
You're an absolute ledge, and you're a funny guy. I do like the fact that we went to. I
invited you to Aintree.
Yeah, I had a message saying, let's go to the Grand National. I didn't expect it to be some sort of like biker's shed in some bloke's garden with random horses out, and he's running a book and he never paid out proper, and his wife's just putting out like sandwiches and charging Michelin star prices, and it's a shed in the garden. Unbelievable, but that was a cracking day.
It's different.
It was.
I always like to be different.
It was a spectacular day, and I love you very much for that. And thank you always for the invites. You're a really good mate. Can we talk about your backstory? So, how on earth did this whole world, right? So, from school, with the likes of Elizabeth, Lilibet, to get to the VC world, the private equity place.
Okay. I would honestly say most of it has been by chance. Okay, I didn't plan it out. I went to a good school, the Oratory, London Oratory. I must have.
Did you sing?
No, I must have passed my 11 plus. I don't even remember taking it.
Well, that makes one of us.
But I wasn't. I can honestly say I wasn't a good student. Yeah? I was always a little bit of a rebel. Nothing nasty, but pranks. And so, and I wanted to be an architect at the time. I stayed up.
You were desperate to actually have an 8-year degree.
I wanted I didn't know about this. I didn't know about a unit. My parents, very humble. I didn't know there was a university system. Yeah, let alone go to one.
Were you the first person in your family to go through that higher education piece?
No, I didn't go through it. That's the thing. See, I stayed on in the sixth form at the Oratory purely because girls joined. So I stayed on to do.
That's the first conversation we have had today,
and that's
where people basically their whole career was based on them stalking girls.
And so when the girls, Liz and now my wife, they joined for the sixth form from Maris Convent, and I genuinely stayed on because there were girls joining. Yeah, it's been all boys' school. Yeah, and but I wanted to, somehow I was good at technical drawing. I wanted to be an architect, but at the time, there were no jobs around. Tarmac, all the builders weren't hiring anyone. So a bunch of us. Now, how this come about, I have no idea. But a bunch of us ended up working for Her Majesty's Treasury. So, the official. So there I am, the Official Secrets Act signing, and all I was doing was filing. But I remember being. I used to watch a Lancia Stratos come round Parliament Square at the same time every day. It was so boring.
Was it Lancia Stratos?
A Lancia Stratos.
Hang on, was it in golf colours? Was it light blue with the...
Yeah.
Oh,
and but Dennis Healy was the Chancellor of the Exchequer at the time.
Eyebrows.
He used to bounce off the walls coming from the Red Line pub, which is still across the road from the Treasury, which is where we all went lunchtime. We had no interest in a career there. We had to get a packet, it was like little cardboard packets for our payday on Friday. That was all we were interested in, go to the post office to get our money. And then my wife...
Go into the post office to get your money?
Yeah.
But people like James would have no idea what that was all about.
No, I used to get a little brown pay packet at the end of the week.
Yeah.
I'm 40. I still remember those good old days.
Yeah, but you had your money in it. You didn't have to go to the post office to get it.
Oh, what was in the post office?
Well, just a counter. Well, I guess...
Sorry, was that the gayest thing you've ever said? Right, that was the campus voice you've ever had in your life, by the way.
Yeah, but Dennis Healy used to bounce off the walls after lunch. Yeah. And but I knew I couldn't stay there, and my wife, not at the time, but my wife, she picked up a Freebie magazine, and there was advertising for a job in an American merchant bank. and I duly applied.
Okay, I'm guessing they're asking for a degree and they're asking for some banking.
I don't know what they were after. Okay, but so I joined a company called Bankers Trust, and I remember
God,
just
I know
funny.
I know Bankers Trust.
Right, a funny story was when I was going for my interview with the HR people. This guy was cross-eyed.
Well,
he's cross-eyed,
he's Clarence.
So it's like I'm looking at you, but he's looking at me up there, and I kept turning around.
Hang on, this is taking me back to a series of the IT crowd. It's like, I want money for the cross-eyed.
So anyway, got the job. 900.
So anybody who is out there suffering with cross-eyedism, don't go in public.
No.
We're just going to laugh at you. Carry on.
Anyway, got the job. £998 a year.
Oh, smashed it.
Smashed it, and there we are. So, but I did. It was a great grounding in banking because we did 6 months here, 6 months there.
Oh, right. So you actually
bills have laid in,
So you went through every department.
Pretty much, yeah. Credit, So,
oh, that's sick.
Yeah. So the 6 months, and it makes you aware of what's going on. But I was about 30, and
hang on. Let's give me a year when that might have been.
77, something like that. 77.
77.
Yeah. So
I was 12, and you were earning less than £1,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
But after, but one of the benefits of being in a bank at that time is you got a subsidised mortgage, and it was subsidised down to 5%, and interest rates were up at 15, 18. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, you tell the kids today 5% is nothing.
Yeah. But that was a big plus,
massive plus.
Yeah. So anyway, really scuttled. It took me all these departments.
That was during also the time where you could get like 3 or 4 times salary for a mortgage.
4 times, and 2.5 times the other half.
Yeah. So you could get maybe £5,000 tops together.
Yeah, I think our first house was 30 grand. I think. Yeah, but we were lucky. My dad, he didn't have any money.
Half a watch.
He gave us £10,000 as a deposit on our first house, and that at the time made a huge difference, a third of the cost. So anyway, 6 months, and I started growing up a bit, learning and realising that if I wanted to make a make of it, I needed to either be on two departments. It was either on the trading floor, or in corporate finance, and I managed to get myself into corporate finance.
Which is brilliant, by the way.
Yeah. And then I worked on.
At what point did you realise that everyone around you was double-barrelled?
From a very, very early age. I'll give you an example, Gary. We used to have our Monday morning meetings, like big conference room, with everyone who's come over from New York and. So all these people on the secondments, whose dad was the chairman of HSBC. Emilio Botin, I used to sit with Emilio Botin, whose parents owned Santander. So, but I didn't know anything about this. I was just all I was interested in was doing my job. So, but every Monday morning we'd sit around, have a conference call around the world. Calling in Singapore, calling in New York, calling in Miami, calling in wherever. And everyone was sitting there having their opinions about what was happening in the economy, what was going to happen with interest rates, what was going to happen with the FTSE, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be sitting there thinking, I haven't got a clue.
To be fair, neither did they.
No.
Right.
But in later life, and as we'll come to it, but when I eventually joined Gresham, we'll come to that, I was hired because they said you only talk when you know the truth. But all these people were there and they felt they had to talk.
Fill the space.
Yeah. Whereas I didn't have, and I still think that's quite relevant today. We speak to economists, They haven't got a clue.
No, of course not.
We could have a view that they don't know.
No one knows.
No one knows. Anyway, so I ended up in corporate finance, and then the best thing that happened to me was the worst thing that happened for the bank. Was we involved in the management buyout, and it was a public to private transaction in the mid-80s, and it was 660 million. And nobody had heard of a billion. And within...
Who was that? What was that transaction?
Magnet, which is the kitchen business, yeah?
I didn't think Magnet was that big.
Well, Magnet, at the time, was a trade business. And Tom Duxbury, who was one of the family, wanted to do a buyout, and he wanted to open up shops on the high street. And this is when timing comes into it. Deal was done. It was syndicated to every bank you could name. Senior debt, subordinated, mezzanine, and a little bit of equity. Layers. And it was all sold off. And it went terribly wrong because a recession hit. Nobody was going to buy kitchens on the high street, and they just opened...
post-transaction?
Well, it happened during, I think, yeah? So, recession hit...
But they're committed at that point, because Magnet would have spent billions.
All the leases.
Millions.
All the leases on the high street.
Everything.
So,
nothing you do at that point.
So we... Now, all the people who... I won't name them, but all the people...
No, name them.
who worked on the initial deal, because I never worked on the initial deal. I was given the job of sorting it out. All the people who were so-called clever ones, and probably were right in hindsight, they all found other jobs because they knew they were either going to get fired or get no bonus or anything, unbeknown to me at the time. But my sole objective at that time was to save 3,000 people's jobs. It had nothing to do with money.
Genuinely, is that how you saw it?
Yes. Absolutely.
Because that's not how bankers are perceived.
Yeah, I know. That's why but I was doing it because that was my job.
You're not a Rupert.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you, Rupert. When as part of this syndicate, and I restructured that business 3 times. Over a long period of time. Everyone else is gone. I was the only person who knew, what was going on, and.
Kenny, when you leave, you turn the lights out. Was it one of those?
Well, I was being flown out to New York to chairman because we were being sued by GE for $1 billion.
What?
I'd never heard of $1 billion, yeah. And of course, all the Ruperts, isosceles came along. Do you remember that? Jimmy Goldsmith.
I'm aware of the triangle.
No. Isosceles was they wanted to buy Zurich, I think it was, or BAT, which had a tobacco business and Eagle Star. Eagle Star, that was it.
Yeah, I used to make a huge amount of money from British American tobacco.
So,
Woking, the headquarters on a roundabout.
Yeah,
that's random.
And that particular transaction came in, it was going to be Bankers Trust's next big deal. Of course, everyone wanted to move off the 660 million one to be associated with the billion one. But it never happened because Kerry Packer, Jimmy Goldsmith, and one other coming. Anyway, now we're being sued for $1 billion.
Okay, so people don't really know these people, right? So Kerry Packer, he was the first person to do cheap flights across the pond, wasn't he? So he was doing. We all talk about the same. Yeah.
Right.
Can you just Google Kerry Packer for me?
No, I think he's the Australian guy.
Yeah, I think he was the first person who actually just did cheap flights across the pond. I'd hate it if I was wrong, but it seldom happens.
I don't remember that.
He was an Australian media tycoon who made his money through buying he created 20th Century Fox. No mention of planes, but for the sake of this, he also had a plane, and he took people for free from Heathrow to Atlanta only.
Okay.
That's Wikipedia classic.
Okay. It's probably on the second page. Keep going.
Oh yeah. Loved a plane.
Loved the plane. Yeah.
And there's me, this fellow with a few O levels, now being flown backwards and forwards on Concorde because everyone else, I was just sitting around doing my job. Anyway, I refinanced it 3 times, and
so I'm guessing as a result of doing deals like that and being the sticking point and the person who's taking the helm, you elevated yourself through that company pretty rapidly.
Yeah, you get sort of noticed that you're doing something.
So tell me,
and let me just give you an example of. I mean, I'm not a great fan of banks, okay, and I know how they work.
Yet you worked for them.
Yes, but I was different. I wouldn't work the way they worked. Yeah? Not intentionally. It's just that I was doing it. I just thought it was the right thing to do. So I'll give you an example. There was a bank called Security Pacific that was acquired, well, they said it merged with Bank of America. But Bank of America, so Security Pacific, what happens in a bank is that if you get your relationship manager who's going to sell to you and get the deal and all the rest of it, but as soon as anything starts going wrong, it goes into a completely different department. And there's no emotion. It's all, it costs you £1 million.
I'm aware of
and the second one, they've transferred it internally for 200 grand, and if he gets more than 200 grand back, or she gets more than 200 grand back, they get a bonus. Yeah. So, but Security Pacific was acquired by Bank of America, but it was Security Pacific who were the lender in Magna. So I would spend hours. We had long-term credit bank. So I was trying to do this restructuring. So 1 minute I'm dealing with the time zones in Japan. Then I'm trying to deal with San Francisco. And I try to get something together. I go home. Next morning, didn't get credit approval or whatever. So in the end, I was getting fed up with it. So I ended up going round to the Bank of England to see Rupert Pennant-Ray, who was the deputy governor of the Bank of England at the time. And he called in this fellow who inherited the debt from Setpack. I remember his name was Ken as well. And he got called in. And we sat in the Bank of England. We had cucumber sandwiches and a cup of tea. And Rupert said to this fellow Ken from Bank of America, "Do you know what happened to Mellon?" And he went, "No, sir." He goes, "Have you heard of the London way?" "No, sir." He said, "Well, I suggest you go back and talk to people who might know." What it was is if you don't play ball, you're going to lose your banking licence. So, funny enough, next day, got credit approval.
So with this stuff, right? So you started working in that banking and finance world when it was the Wild West, and I'm guessing, was that before you had all the authorities looking at this stuff? Was it a little bit, get away with what you can get away with?
I don't think so. No,
there were still authorities there and governance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Tell me. I think people would take from this, you can be different. You don't have to follow the traditional path. And if you bring something that's new and creative and you live by a good moral code and compass,
yes,
you can still do well in banking.
The problem is nowadays, though, Gary, is getting in the first place.
Okay, but I want one more story from you that I love before we go into that, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Shut up! You made some money out of Red Bull.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So that Red Bull story that you just mentioned to me off camera.
Yeah.
I didn't know of, by the way. I mean, why a business like Red Bull that is, these days they own Wentworth Golf Course. The guys who are at the top of the tree, they have more money than God.
Yeah.
how much
Dietrich.
Yeah, how much money have they got put into sport around the world?
Oh.
Right, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Who drinks Red Bull these days? Because it's just riddled with calories. I probably have 10 a year, right? Max.
Well, yeah, it's 10 more than me.
That's 10. That's 10 more than you. Share with my massive following in Portugal your story about.
Very quick. Again, I just want to really emphasise. It's only when there's been difficult situations that I used to get involved. I was never doing the original deal.
So you weren't there for the glory moments. They basically got you in because you're the little,
somebody's got to look after it. Yeah?
Someone's a little Rottweiler who can actually sort this out and turn it around.
So
so even though you weren't from that double barrel blue blood, old boys network, you added value. But they basically
if I could just go back just to quickly. After the magnet, and I was so proud because when I got home after the third refinancing, I've been spending all my time with Allen Overy and KPMG and hours on end. Yeah? And when it got over the line,
hang on, I'll be honest with you.
It's about to be a line.
Yeah, Marlbone thinks you're lying.
I'm not. So I remember getting home at that, and there was a bunch of flowers for my wife and a bottle of champagne for me. And it had a note on it, and it said, "From the directors of Magnet, thank you for saving our company."
And you got a bottle of champagne?
Yeah.
Well, where's the fucking villa in Spain?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know, we're talking 600 million. Cheapskate, mother.
Yeah. Anyway, so, but then Bankers Trust, there's a lot of banks that have another strategic plan.
Yeah.
We're not doing any more leverage deals, and they basically made us all redundant. I mean, I thought was the safest person to have a job, being that we were still being sued for $1 billion. But you're just a number, okay? You are a number. And as I always, I might come on to it, but with my kids, who are not kids anymore, I said, I don't mind what you do for a living, as long as it's legal. But aspire to be in control of your own destiny. Because nobody else is going to look after you. If you're a bit luckier and later in life, you can help people out. But as a rule of thumb, nobody else is going to look after you. And in a big organisation like the bank, you are a number. And your day's going to come one day, sooner or later.
Yeah, that's right.
But so I got made redundant. Well, blow me. I got my brown envelope, and we were told to go and find another job in the bank. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to do that then. So I had a phone call from the head of HSBC Private Equity, who used to work at Bankers Trust. He said, "Oh, you need a job. You better come round here."
Nice.
So I went off skiing, playing golf actually in Chamonix, and I didn't have a contract or anything. So I said, have I really got this job? Anyway, I did. And
by the way, can I think? I can't think of the worst place to play golf. That's a lot.
It was a beautiful
That's a
course.
lot of up and down.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
It's
course.
a lot of
No,
up and
it's
down.
not. It's not. Anyway, so there we are, Chamonix. I joined HSBC Private Equity, doing the same job as I was doing before. I inherited 100 different investments, and it was my job to sell off what we could. And the idea was to get it so their average ticket was about 5 million. And they wanted to make it 100 million.
So they got 500 million in, and they need to make a.
They wanted to get the portfolio down to 30 investments, but 100 million each time, as opposed to 5 million.
So spin them off.
Oh yeah, and just as an aside, there was one business that I think it was called Restructured Handball, and it got listed, and I was round at Rothschild Bank, and wooden, it's the old-fashioned place.
Yeah,
wooden wall, padded panels, and the woman who was doing the presentation, I don't know if you can say this, but the Sloan, like pearl necklace, she was there,
right?
The posh woman, yeah. And the phone rang, and this was before
Sloan Ranger.
Sloan Ranger, And this was before we all had mobile phones. There might be one mobile phone in the office, but I didn't have one. So I'm sitting there, and the phone rings on the on the table behind, and this woman comes walking down. Hello, yeah. Is there a Sir Ken here? So I'm looking around, and I knew everyone else who was in the room. There was no Kens, so I got up and went to the back, and it was my PA, secretary, and she said, "Ken, don't forget you've got lunch with so-and-so at 1 o'clock." I went, "Oh, okay, yeah, fine." I put the phone down. Well, the next day I got embossed letters from this woman. "Dear Sir Ken."
I love that.
And, it was just, I think I still got it somewhere, but it was, that world was totally different.
Yeah.
So anyway, I set about doing that. I did it, but I was on holiday. Another moment, I was with the family in Abu Dhabi.
Did you ever go to work? It seems like everything seems to be a chain of...
Well, I was a professional golfer for 2 weeks of the year at least, because I was decent at golf. I'd get invited all over the place. Yeah, so
as long as you're making money, who gives a shit?
Yeah. So, I was in Abu Dhabi. I've been at HSBC, private equity. I was never going to get a seat at the top table. I didn't want to work. I was thinking, do I really want to... No, this is HSBC, private equity. Do I really want to be there when I'm 50? And I was 40. And I thought, I can't see this, because we all had 2 jackets and 1 pair of trousers. So, because you'd leave a jacket on the back of you, see, and somebody would think you were in a meeting. It was staying late for staying late's sake.
Ugh.
Yeah. Whereas I don't work like that.
If there's work to be done, you're going to work.
I'll do 24 hours a day if there's something to be done. But if there's nothing to be done, what's the point of just sitting there? Yeah. So when I came back, bizarrely, a guy who eventually became our senior partner, Paul Marston-Smith, had left 3i to join Gresham Trust, as it was at the time, and he called me up and said, because we used to sit on the same board, a company called Qdis Biotech, a computer business in Bracknell, and so he called me up. I went round, and he described.
Well, I know Gresham.
The old trust.
I know Gresham inside out because they invested in S3. So back in the days, we had your James Barber Smith.
Yeah. But back in the day, it was Gresham Trust, owned by Eagle Star. See, so I went round and said to him, very simply, well, thank you for the offer of, but it's not for me, because I think you're going about this the wrong way. It seems like you're trying to hire somebody to save the people's jobs who are there, as opposed to revamping the whole thing, yeah?
Making a shekel, yeah.
And I went away. And a month later, they called up and said, we've been thinking about it with the managing director, and we think you're right.
Nice.
So I moved in.
So actually...
And it was at the time, Gary, it was a bit like playing for Manchester City today, and going to play for Brentford. No, not Brentford. No, like lower than that. Sort of, I don't know, Wrexham. We're doing rather well.
Yeah,
anyway,
like Wrexham,
but it was like different league. Yeah, and there was even mice running around in my office in the old building where we had the lease. And anyway, cut a long story short, we ended up having to clear out of all the. We had a typing pool. My secretary there, in the typing pool, I used to go out and do my lunches, entertaining people, and I would always just write a note down of my expenses. And, one day it might be in black pen, next day it might be in blue pen or red pen or whatever pen was available, lunch with lawyers, And when I put it in, and this woman said, that's not the way we do it here. I said, well, I'm sorry, that's the way you're doing it now. You're here to help me out. Anyway, we did we ended up doing a management buyout, our own management buyout, which was a great selling point when we were looking for management teams that we were going to back.
So I mean, it's such a colourful story. The fact that you were deliberately different, you weren't of the typical mould. You were brought in to firefight when there were things going wrong.
Yeah.
So people can create opportunities.
Yeah. So when everyone roll it,
But there's a whole mass of people who get into sectors because it looks glorious, looks glamorous.
Yeah.
But the hard work is generally when things are going to fucking shit.
Yeah.
When it goes to shit, you need to step up.
And when it does go to shit,
oh, it's a fucking lot of money really quick. Yeah. And having people like you. So I was very fortunate with the whole S3 thing and with all the VCs that we had. We had some great people involved in the business. And we loved them very much. And so I'm doing I think one of my next podcasts is with Paul Goodson.
Okay, I know Paul from Barclays.
Of course you can. Of course you do. So it's we're all still pretty decent mates about that stuff, but I mean, it's also interesting. Someone like yourself in that banking world, who thinks the way we do as entrepreneurs, as opposed to a Rupert who's Mama and Papa own most of.
Well, I'll give you an idea of. It sounds a bit basic, but when we were hiring people at Gresham, whoever was the head of the department would do the CV and the interviews, and then they'd do another one, and the last one would always be with Ken. And I've been through all that. I don't need to go through all that again. But we always ended up going out to have a bite to eat or a drink. And these are guys who got first in maths at Oxford, and if they didn't offer to buy a drink in the first 2 rounds, they didn't get the job.
Okay.
Because their job was to go out
and be liked,
and
100%.
And so
100%. Here's one for you. Did you know about Goldman Sachs? So the last interview process is always a meal out, and what is considered to be best practice, the norm, and etiquette is best. You're supposed to, if you have a bread roll, you pull a bit of bread off, you break bread, and you only butter the piece that you're going to eat, and you might put some of your butter on a side dish, salt your butter, put a bit of it on the bread and eat your bread. If you were to break your bread and butter it all, wouldn't get a job.
I didn't know that. No.
Wouldn't get a job. If you didn't know what cutlery to use, wouldn't get a job.
Yeah.
Because they come from a certain echelon of society when you should be knowing that. But anyway, if I'm honest with you, I'm a boy from Hounslow. I know how to do that. So fucking hell, so should they. I'd really like to get to know for people to know about you a little bit more. I think, James, we've got this whole thing right? So we understand you can be different, you can be deliberately different, you can make a success of anything, and the people who succeed most and who are most resilient are the people who actually fight through. Would you please just tell me this story about, because I've tried twice to get it from you, and I will edge it out of you, the whole thing about getting Red Bull. Because that 5 people get 20% of it, and every time you get that, because I just think that puts the cherry on the Kenny cake before we start playing games.
Okay,
is that
all
good?
Right. Yeah. Well, again, it comes from a position of I'm firefighting on a business that it did eventually go into administration, but through no fault of most of the management team, and they were very, very bright, and had contacts in the drink industry. It was a drinks distribution business. So we spent a lot of time together trying to get through this, and it didn't happen. So we all ended up deciding to start up a drinks distribution business because they had the contacts with Castle Lager in South Africa, Sol, there's a Quiz, amongst others. And we had this little brand, and when we set up with one table, a telephone in the leather market in Bermondsey, and we started doing our little bit of distribution. But we had this brand, and it was called Red Bull, that hadn't really taken off at the time. Doing about 1,000
sugary sweet drinks.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So, but roll forward, business was turning over 100 million, making 10. And the funny thing is, when we was going out with all the people I knew in the private equity world, they knew somehow, I must have mentioned it to somebody and it spread around. They all knew that I had an involvement, 20% of the distribution company.
So how did you get 20% of that?
Oh, I literally sat down with the team and they said, how are we going to carve the equity up? And I just said, well, it's 5 of us, 20%. And they just went, right, done. And that was it. If you're honest and treat people decent, you go a long way,
Yeah.
Anyway, but we ended up having, IT department, HR, the lot. And the rest is history.
So every time you're sitting in the pub and see someone getting a vodka Red Bull, you're going, shating, penny.
Penny. If they have a jug.
Oh, 6 pence.
5.
don't go mental, gal.
So, but I also remember I used to belong to David Lloyd and Rains Park, and Red Bull at the time had just started getting into motorsport, and they were sponsors of one of the back of the Formula One team, Minardi.
I remember, of course.
And I used to go down and watch the Grand Prix or the practice or whatever, and please stay on Minardi, yeah? Because Red Bull was on the side, and we had some great times with them. It was good fun, but everything comes to its end, and Red Bull decided, because they had a ramp up of the volumes of cases, and then it started plateauing, and they wanted to take the margin back inside.
So, look, it's 80s, 90s, no one's drinking vodka Red Bull or a shambles. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Vodka, Red Bull and champagne. Okay, let's pretend I didn't say that out loud, but what a drink. that was many a night out. Right, I think we're going, it's, thank you very much, right, amazing insights, and I think people will be inspired by your story that you don't have to conform to be good. Should we do alphabet soup? Alphabet soup. Right, so we're gonna choose a number. So my lovely assistant, Debbie James Burt, you need to spin this and give it a good old spin. Spin it like you're still healthy.
What are you giving it?
Oh, C. Right, now we're gonna go to the book of magic stuff.
I'm scared now.
Right, no, you should be scared because I'm going to take you. You've been in your comfort zone so far, and now I'm going to beat you up, bitch. Right, so C. This is all based on the fact that I'm doing a A to Z of business stuff. So we can talk about C being for change, deriving the state of change, driving change within an organisation, or your approach to change. We can talk about being consistent, or what that actually means to you. So would you say you're a consistent human or not? We can talk about culture and what the difference that meant to you as an investment or investee. We can talk about confidence, so naturally in yourself. How do you drive? We can talk about competition, because I'm going to beat you, because that's what I live for.
Can I add another
change?
Can I add another C?
Yes, you can.
Check.
Brilliant. Done.
Not check. Check, as in check your work. Okay?
Czech Republic.
No.
Petr check.
One of my managing director at Bankers Trust, very lovely fella, gentleman, called Jack Rose.
Rosie.
Jack Rose, and during the
JR.
Yeah, I was taught you can hire professional people. That's what you do. You hire accountants.
Yeah, people who do things quicker than you, better than you.
You hire lawyers.
People do things.
You hire environmental consultants. You hire management consultants.
Yeah.
You hire them because that's what you do. You're hiring them. Yeah, but he said to me, "But you have got to make a decision." Okay, and what I found is, check. It's a bit of an aside to check, but people are scared to ask questions if they've come from a certain background because they're scared they don't know they should know the answer. Yeah. And sorry.
Yeah. Because every time you do that, literally, I'm getting a serious baseline.
To the extent that I remember Kenny Jones, the drummer out of the Faces and the Who. Yeah, I was at his polo, and I was invited there, and the chairman of the company that invited me came up to the marquee and says, "Oh, hello, Kenny."
Rupert.
And he said,
Rupert McDoublebarrel.
So what industry are you in? And I said, I'm in the FIP industry. And he said, oh, how's the FIP industry doing? And I said, well, we've had our ups and downs, we've had bank crisis, but we're on the, back on the mend again. We're getting there. Well, that's really nice to know. And my wife was standing next to me. She goes, what's the FIP industry? I said, fingers in pies. But he didn't have, because he didn't know it, he couldn't ask the question.
You should have asked the question, shouldn't they?
Just said, we had to say, what's the FIP? But they don't. And it's a bit, you always, even at school, ask that first.
That is sick,
you know your question. A business comes in and it's called,
I ask the question
whatever,
all the time.
best three. You've only got one chance, really, because if you've worked on it for 2 weeks, you should know the name of the company.
I think I've got enough.
So check.
I've got enough self-confidence to say if I don't understand a TLA,
you'll be amazed how many
3-letter abbreviation. If you don't understand someone saying something, you just say, "You bought what?"
Yeah.
And actually, 9 times out of 10, everybody in your vicinity goes, "Thank God you asked the question."
Yeah.
But you might just be the only one. So I always ask that. Yeah. And also, double checking people's work is really good as well. Because don't take anything at face value, because most people cheat. So it was really interesting when we do things like MI reports or management information or anything that's a P&L or any data. I never let my managers create it themselves. It's created from a central source based on the single moment of truth, which might be the CRM or the balance sheet. Yeah. And then it goes to them to make comment. And if they say it's wrong, it's like, well, it's not wrong because that's come from a single moment of truth. And that's what you're being measured on. Yeah. So double check everything. I think, do you know what? That's a great bit of advice. Right, shall we go to Desert Island? Aloha, dude. Here we go, yeah. Right, so we're on a desert island. Mm-hmm. It's my shoehorn attempt to basically do a quick fire round. Okay. Ready for this? You want your toes? You want your toes? Ready?
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. One wish.
One wish. Obviously, I'll say the obvious. The family all healthy and well, and all the rest of that. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it might go global peace. I mean, that generally works for Miss World.
Yeah, I know.
All that good stuff. Just for the rest of these, you can't mention family, births, and wife. Okay, so that's good. Yep. Okay, right. One prediction.
I don't have a prediction. You can't predict anything.
Okay, a lot of people talking about Trump getting back into power.
Yeah, and I think our mayor will be back in power as well.
I can't see Spurs ever winning the Premiership.
I tend to agree with you, and I've been going there for a long time.
Brilliant. Okay, best moment you've ever had?
Best moment I ever had was, it sounds a bit...
Can't say children.
No, it's actually, I came home from Gresham, and I'd been given my bonus slip. And I remember I was going to the Natural History Museum for
Well, you just
a corporate event,
so
and
you
I stopped off
you-
in
so-
South Ken, and I popped into a pub and sat down, and I hadn't opened it. And I sat down and I looked at the amount, and I thought, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that before.
Oh, that's sick.
And that was, it just, I'm now back in.
It's reaffirming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
when you said I went to the Natural History Museum, I thought, well, fucking hell, the bloke bought a dinosaur. Right, okay, right, so you...
It's a well now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a well now. Yeah. We were both there for the
Yeah,
60th.
yeah.
Right, a tattoo, you have to have a tattoo. What would you have?
My initials,
Brilliant. Where?
probably on my shoulder, somewhere where you
Okay,
won't
so
find.
it's all about you, isn't it?
I don't know, it's KL, and it's a brand.
Hang on,
a
KL.
brand-
Hang on, KL?
Yeah.
Isn't that that Superman's called?
It's called Clark Kent.
No. Look, when Superman came to Earth, his original name was KL.
His alien name.
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You are Superman.
Well,
Kal-El.
Don't taste what he said.
KL,
It's
yeah.
the same thing.
It's-
Fuck it, that is random.
It's a
Live long and
it's a
prosper.
brand.
dude.
It's a brand of guitar that are handmade in California.
Okay, stop doing that.
Sorry.
Right, it's KL, but literally, can I just say, I was more pleased with myself. Right, you can have one do-over. So something that's happened in your life, you think, I could have done that differently.
Oh, that's a difficult one. Can
We come back
to that?
Okay, one guilty pleasure.
Always having a couple of beers with the boys.
No, that's a necessity. Go for something else.
Well, it's not. If you go to the doctor and you say you go for a couple of pints with my mates every night.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
the doc-
all that fucking yabba about
Yeah.
your fucking liver.
Yeah.
Don't they go on? Occasionally you go a bit yellow and look like a Simpsons character. Get over it. One sporting victory that you wish you had had.
Sporting victory.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I was going to mention Spurs winning the Premiership.
In which case, let's just move over that. Right, one person you wish you could have met or will meet.
I wish I would have met a guy called Aidan McCarthy.
Shut up! This is going to get interesting real fast.
Okay, and can I, just in case you ask me about a book, it's the same person, okay?
Okay.
The book is called A Doctor's Sword, and it is the best book it's about an Irish doctor who basically survives the Second World War. He then goes into captivity in a concentration camp or whatever in Asia, because Pearl Harbor had just happened.
So he's a US citizen.
No, he's Irish,
Okay.
from Cork.
So why has he got caught up in?
Well, that's why you got to read the. No, because he was on a ship going on another mission,
Oh, right.
and Pearl Harbor
Read the
happened.
book, Gal.
Yeah.
Read the book.
He then goes. Hold on. So he then is.
Don't give it away.
No.
Right.
I'm only telling you what's on the cover. And then he survives the atomic war in Nagasaki.
Okay, I don't
Okay,
see.
and
he
he-
sounds like
and I
the
won't
most unlucky bloke in the world.
But it was the only book I was crying with emotion, yeah? And thinking about, well, we're all worried about COVID, yeah? And by the way, he went back, I won't spoil it, and
You're doing your best.
A Doctor's Sword, okay?
A Doctor's Sword.
Aidan McCarthy,
Okay, I love that. What's the best book to read?
that one.
Okay, right. I just want to throw that in. Just make sure you're watching. Okay, you have to eat one type of food for the rest of your life.
Pie and mash and liquor, East End.
Oh, liquor is shit.
No, it's not.
Gravy's lovely. Liquor is horrid.
No. There we are.
Where were you brought up? You're not
In
East
Wapping.
End?
Wapping.
Okay, fair enough.
No, that's
Okay.
East End.
Do you like a jelly?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, well, in which case, it's allowed that I don't like liquor. It's fucking shit. One luxury thing that you can't live without for the rest of your life.
Well, the obvious thing at the moment,
No, you can't have them. You can't have phones, you can't have laptops.
luxury things.
Yeah. Curling tongs, so where are we going with this?
Curly's. Razors.
But can I say, my hair, I should introduce you to the place where Bill and I went. It seems to have worked better with me. One mantra that you live by.
Be true to yourself. And the one thing, you can't buy time.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You can't buy time, and that's what I may be a bit controversial here, but when COVID happened and they closed everything down, and people were just sitting in their homes doing nothing for 2 years or whatever, that time's gone. You can't buy that now.
Well, the thing is, I always quite find it funny when people say, that's an hour of my life I don't get back. You don't get back any of them. So just be aware of that.
Same thing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, so we're going to go on just to wrap things up. 2 truths and a lie. So this is guest choice.
All
so
right.
we can either do 2 truths and a lie. I know you're sat on your questions. Do you want to revert to your questions, or do you remember them? 2 truths and a lie. A question to me.
Okay.
Or something you would like me to ask.
I once sat next to David Frost on Concord, because he always used to come back to do his.
Okay, so that I'm going with a strong truth. Yeah. Next.
I do need to look at my.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Actually, we're off an age.
I know.
Some music to fill for time.
Fill for time. Fill for time. Yeah.
Oh, right, well. Right.
Okay, fill for time.
There we go.
Fill for time. That's 20 seconds. I'm not getting back.
You're not getting anywhere back.
Right, here we go. Right, so you once sat next to David Frost on Concord. Next.
That's true.
I was always being sent home from school, the London Oratory, for having my hair too long.
Okay, you look left. You did one of them.
What hand is he right with? You need to know that.
He's a righty.
Up and
Okay,
left.
yeah.
Up and left is remembering.
No, I think. Okay. And the next one?
The next one is another Rothschild. I went out to a place called Zug in Switzerland, and me being the Luddite, I decided to go out, and I thought Zug was the abbreviation for Zurich Airport. So I went out there.
Okay, I don't think you need to say anymore. 100% true. 100% true.
Okay. So which one's the lie?
James, what do you reckon?
So David Frost, long hair, or going to the wrong place?
It's long hair, isn't it?
I think it's long hair. I think he's in trouble a lot, but I don't reckon long hair.
Okay, if I had to pay 100 quid to a charity, what would it be?
What, the Children's Charity?
Yeah, what charity would you want me to pay 100 quid to if I get it wrong?
Children's Trust.
Okay, right. We are both going strong on. You didn't get sent home from school for having your hair too long.
Well, I did. The lie is I didn't sit next to David Frost. I sat next to Diana Rigg.
Fucking hell, I hate giving money to children. It's like, they get right on my fucking pip. And there are so many of them, annoying little twats. Okay, if you send me somewhere, I will send £100.
It's actually where the money from where we went and had the Grand National Day.
That was going in that fat lad's pocket.
No,
there was no chance.
I took it up to the Children's Trust in Tolworth, Tedworth, and
there's 100 quid coming from me to you.
And they'll be very appreciative.
Yeah, well, just mention it's from the bloke from Big Brother and make sure they vote for me. Right, so, but I don't like mentioning it, but I have done quite a lot today. Can I just say thank you very much for coming in. I think it's an absolute joyful experience to see someone who's actually managed to make such a major success of something where, by definition, you shouldn't have got into. You're not a Rupert, and you're a good soul, and I think that good souls actually do well in life. I really appreciate you being here.
Can I actually just finish off with one thing?
I am going to give you the famous last word.
Go on, then. My mum and her older sister, they weren't drinkers. Sunday afternoon would be a pate sandwich and a Viennetta or something like that.
Oh, la-di-da.
And I'd be sitting there, and they would laugh and non-stop have great fun. At the end of every conversation they had, they went, "Oh, Maggie, oh, Nell, it all goes on." So it all goes on.
Right, I love you very much. Thank you very much for making the effort to be here today. You're an absolute superstar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
James, smashed it as ever. Why don't you say something nice? Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. I've been Gary Goldsmith. Good night.